Oh. Welcome. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the San Clemente Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. And we are here in the first floor of the City Hall for the first time in a face-to-face meeting. I'd like to start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is here.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
That one buried online.
Not a problem.
At least the visual was always bad.
Adam, will you call the roll, please?
Okay, committee member Leffler?
Aye.
Committee member Hightower?
Present.
Vice Chair Joe Janis?
Present.
And Chair Nick Bercuda.
Here.
Also in attendance are Captain Benfield, Captain Malat, and Chief Capobianco is not present.
Got it. Okay, looking at the agenda, we have the regular orders of business, selection of the Public Safety Chair and Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Nick Bercuda as the chair for our committee.
I'd like to second that.
Could you please take a roll?
Could I have a discussion on that, Mr. Chairman, or whoever's going to be chairman?
Right.
One of the things I want to know, what are the duties of the chairman on this committee? Since I'm new, I'm really not sure how you use it. Rosenberg's orders of meeting, basically, he's to keep order, decorum, last say on whatever ruling comes about, you know, if it's really proper or not. But what else does the chairman do? Are we basically, do you make assignments? Do we do the work for you? Or if we want to go to the city council, do we have to go through the chairman, co-chairman? How does that work?
In the since we've started, it's kind of a committee
Yeah.
type of thing. It's not a dictatorial thing. We work as a committee. We work together very cooperatively, and it's worked out quite well. So, but you have to have somebody that can be the designated leader of the pack, basically.
And to jump in there, I think it's quarterly, maybe it's more than that, but there's a report to the city council about how our work plan is going. And typically the chairman is the one that speaks to city council about how, you know, the progress and whatever, so that.
Yeah, we're small enough where we don't have to,
Yeah.
you know, say, hey, whatever, and very cooperative. So we've never had a problem one way or the other on it. So.
Okay, well, I was wondered about that because, you know, there are things that I would like to do and pursue, and I don't know what's the appropriate, should I go do it? Should I make you guys aware of it?
Well, we don't do anything as just a lone wolf on the committee here. Everything is precipitated through the committee. So if you have something that you're interested in pursuing, I would suggest that we work that into the work plan. And then there's also going to be a little bit different way that we can get to the city council here in the future, a more casual thing that we'll kind of explain as we go. But everything's done at the committee. You don't go out and just think, well, this is something. And I mean, you can as a citizen, but as anything we do in committee is started here, is precipitated here.
Okay, those are ground rules. Good to
Fair
know.
enough, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, good. So shall we?
We have a motion on the table, and a second.
Motion and a second.
Okay.
Motion
Committee
by
member Leffler?
Aye.
Committee member Hightower?
Aye.
Vice Chair Janis?
Aye.
And remaining Chair Bercuda.
Aye. And so we have nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Charlie Hightower for vice chair. I think he'd be a really good guy because I know he's kind of savvy in the organizational and tech side of this. And also, it'll give you an opportunity to learn exactly what the chair does. So I think you're the perfect candidate.
And Rick and I have a year left, so you seem to be the candidate for it, so.
That's
Second.
it. Second.
Okay, got a motion by Leffler, second by Janice.
Discussion again. I accept. It's a great idea because it's good to rotate and have other people can fill in and run a meeting when the chairman on gone. So that's a good move, yeah.
I'm known for that.
Really? I'm not.
Got it.
Okay, committee member Leffler.
Aye.
Committee member Hightower.
Aye.
Committee member Janice.
Aye.
And Chair Bercuda.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay. Mr. Atenian, I'd like to deviate from the agenda just a little bit so we can introduce our new city public works director, Kyle Kroger.
And also for the record, Chief Capobianco entered the meeting at 3:05 p.m.
Good job. How are you? Tell us about yourself a little bit and what kind of responsibilities you've learned that you have with the city.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your meeting, and it's nice to see you guys have a public safety committee. I'm not sure we had that in our previous, in the previous city I worked. It's something a little bit different, but excited to work with you guys. One of the things that we have in Public Works, which is a little new to me here, is we have an emergency planning group. So it's something I hadn't employed. I'm not sure how long ago he left. I think it was a couple months ago to take employment somewhere else. I need to find someone to fill that role to work with all the different groups and do some emergency planning and that type of thing in the future. So I came from a city that was a full-service city. We had police department, fire department. They took the leads on a lot of emergencies, and Public Works was pretty much the support staff. Dealt a lot with a lot of emergencies, so coastal flooding, winds, trees down, a few fires, traffic accidents. So I've dealt with a lot of different things as far as emergencies and kind of understand how EOC works and all that good stuff. But to have it kind of under Public Works now, and we're obviously going to work closely with these guys and you guys to do what we have to do. So I look forward to that.
And did you have like a RACES thing in your city, or some kind of
What is that exactly?
Radio Amateur Communication Emergency Services.
like ham operators that had contingency plans if emergencies and all that?
Yeah, I didn't get too involved with that, but we did. I know have a group of volunteer citizens that would, in time of need, be able to provide that type of service.
Cool.
So now this is a new facet for you, and since you're responsible for emergency planning and all, you got the RACES and the CERT and all the other things that go along with it, and we're here to help you with that. So lean on us if you'd like, and we're a good advisory body to the city council, and if you need some stuff, we can kind of channel it one way or the other for you.
I appreciate
And
that.
we're making contacts with other agencies and the cities, the smaller cities around, they all cooperate together too. So
If I could ask a question, have you guys done many drills as far as, the big shakeout and things of that nature? Has the city in the past done much of that, or?
have to rely on to our staff person.
Okay.
The big shakeouts,
We have.
October.
Well, we have, due to COVID, the last time I remember that drill being 2 years ago now. And then the city has had some active shooter trainings previously. Our emergency planning coordinator was working on one. That and HR, they would coordinate on those trainings.
Okay. Well, I've got a lot to learn, but I'm looking forward
As
to
soon as
it.
we form the committee, they have to have one.
And the committee's only been around for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Just coming up to 2 years.
Is it? Is that long?
No, it's like April or March or.
Seems like 5 years to me.
I just completed 1 year.
Anyway,
You take his office 6 months?
thank you. Appreciate coming over and saying hello, and at least you get some faces.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because these are the key people over here that run this thing. And your counterpart over there, with his new office and everything, so Congratulations.
Have you gotten to tour the police station yet?
I did last Tuesday for the
Oh.
grand opening or
Oh.
ribbon cutting service, so it was very nice.
Yeah.
It turned out great. Hopefully, they're happy with it.
So far.
What are you going to say?
Good answer.
Well, at least you know who's can fix it if it's not.
Sure, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's part of this key thing is getting to know each other before we have an emergency or disaster.
Right.
That's very, very important. So
Right.
you can stick around if you like, if you go if you like.
I'm gonna head back. I've got plenty on my plate. Sorry with you guys. So it was nice meeting you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right. Okay, next on the agenda is a meeting from the August 24th meeting.
Move that we accept the minutes from the regular public safety meeting that was held on August 24th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved to second.
Okay, Committeemember Leffler?
Aye.
Committeemember Janice? Vice Chair Hightower and Chair Barfield.
Aye. Now we have minutes from the special joint meeting of the Parks and Rec, the committees and stuff.
Were you there?
Yes.
You need to, I wasn't there, Joe wasn't there. You got to make the motion.
But-
We weren't there.
You were there.
No, not the special meeting. I was not.
I think
This was the
this
appointment.
was the special meeting that was the orientation. where
Yeah, with
community-
the joint group of people.
Oh, this was after they were selected and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Some people
Okay.
got sworn in.
All right, so I'll move that we approve the minutes on the thing.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Is that okay? That's not a quorum, I have to abstain, right? Because I wasn't there. I mean, I read the meetings, minutes, but I,
Well, I mean, what you're voting on is the document before you.
document looks wonderful, I'll vote aye.
Received and filed.
There we go. We can do that. We can do it either way.
Yeah, I mean, that way we don't have a
How
problem
many
procedural.
new members did the city come up with? I looked and seen a lot of people.
On the committees?
Yeah. like
There was a big cleaning
Parks
house.
and Rec, just people just,
And Human Affairs is
yeah, like
all.
Goldfarb and Smith, they're all gone.
Yeah.
I want to say that this is the only committee that has retained more than one member.
You're kidding.
No, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Lots of new great
Yes.
people. Wow,
And we're good.
sounds like fairies.
Got it. Okay. Oral and written communications.
We have not received any oral communications for this meeting.
Okay. Nothing from there. All right. Reviews and recommendations. I see none at this point. New business. We can have consideration and development of the Public Safety Committee Annual Work Plan 21-22.
Wow. So we just kind of power through this. I'd like to retain the citywide neighborhood watch as a portion of our work plan. As it stands, I think what's been written about it, the description is good. I just think we need to go in the implementation phase of it.
Originally, last year, we were supposed to organize into sections, and we've done that. And this next year was to implement the program. Captain Benfield has given me Jamie Blashaw, she's the public relations manager, and we spoke about getting a video done. It's pretty hard if a neighborhood watch group wants someone to come out. If the crime prevention specialist isn't available, then it's hard to get someone out. If there's a police officer on duty that can make it, they'll come out. So, and it would be a very tough job if our program gets as big as we'd like to get anybody out there all the time. I mean, someone wants you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, it's not gonna work. So we've talked about a video, a neighborhood watch video that people could stream. So if they decide they wanna have a meeting, then it's gonna be pretty easy for them. And she was real excited about that. Seemed like she's all in for it. So we sent her some information on what we thought
from a block captain's viewpoint should be in the video. And also information about National Neighborhood Watch, which I'm sure OCSD has anyhow. And so I guess you'll try and write up a script and get something out. And we're not in a big hurry for it. We plan on maybe implementing or advertising the program around January, February, Rick? Something like that?
We're already recruiting some people in the neighborhoods who are interested in.
The majority of the organizational structure seems to be there now, and so I think that was the plan. Last year, we were supposed to get that done, and this year, we're going to implement. So that's going to be our work plan for the Neighborhood Watch.
And if there's no objections for the subcommittee, if you guys don't mind, Joe and I will just continue on that
You got it.
subcommittee.
Yeah, and we'll support you.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, everything will come back through the committee,
Right.
you know, but we'll be the ones that are on the subcommittee doing the legwork on that.
So that's what our goal is to happen.
And then we had the emergency preparedness, which was part of our work plan last year, which, I mean, we certainly have to continue that, and I don't know if you think there should be any alterations to the work plan?
Well, the way it was written up, it was communications and disaster preparedness. Okay, and you and I were kind of detailed on that, and all that. So, and I'm continually working on that thing, especially with our new public works director. He's going to need as much help as he can, and I'm doing a lot of research on finding out, you know, who's doing what in the world type thing.
Well, and you've been really good about presentations and bringing people in. I've been working with, do you have any special expertise or interest in this area? Disaster preparedness, communications, radios?
This is Mr. Communications.
Okay,
You know.
well then that's kind of what I thought. If there's no objections on this subcommittee, maybe Bill could step in for me on this one since he has some expertise, and maybe he'll get some more help.
Well,
Because I am no help on this.
because the communication end of it is kind of a specialty in its own, you know, and we've gone through the RACI stuff and the art and mesh stuff, and we've gone through the 800 megahertz system with the county and all that. That's a specialty that, you know, this guy's got the big licenses for operating those things.
Oh, well, I think that would be really helpful, because I'm a disaster, I just don't know how to address them.
Yeah, and understood, right.
So are you involved with Zion on this?
Ziad is no longer with the city.
Oh,
Well, that's
I didn't know that.
isn't that the guy that just took his
That's
place?
No, this is the guy that took the big guy's
Ziad.
place.
Ziad was the assistant.
Tom Barger.
Director, yeah.
So who's filling in for Zion now?
Nobody.
Is there an
Right
assistant?
now, the city has an interim deputy director, and that is followed by Zach Ponson.
What's that
He
person's
sure
name?
helped us.
Zach Ponson.
Well, we just have to talk to Zach and keep the ball rolling. It'll be okay. We're all good. It's good in the hood, right?
But the problem is we gotta, you gotta keep your ear to the ground, because things change so fast around here.
Yeah,
It's hard to,
in all cities.
Okay.
it just
so-
happens that way.
And Bill, are you getting any of
Sure,
this?
I'll take it.
Charlie.
Nick and Charlie, yeah. We don't have Bill. That was a different committee altogether.
Okay,
So when you were saying about emergency preparedness, Zion wanted to piggyback on the neighborhood watch as far as getting
Right.
certain things out. So
Well,
that was pretty good having all the mapping that we did together with him.
Well, luckily we got most of the mapping done, and we'll just get together with him.
Yeah.
We'll just have a meeting, and we'll start won't be starting from zero, because we've got the maps and all that now, so.
but those maps, the neighborhood watch thing is key to the disaster preparedness program that I'm kind of moving, because how do you disseminate all this city planning and things down to the mom and pop on the street? You
To the
got
block,
to,
yeah.
neighborhood watch is going to be the key to get into that at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, especially for recruitment for the races and for,
So did we decide that we're gonna do the races and all that? That's been decided?
well,
I think, didn't we recommend to the city that they, last
It's a
Term?
city program.
Yeah, we recommend that they continue or enhance or whatever. That's already been set. to the city.
I mean, well, I haven't done that formally, but, you know, with the
I thought we did do
changeover
that formally.
in Public Works, it makes it a little difficult to
It
who you're
does.
talking to.
Yeah, Ziad, the way it was left with Ziad was that we identified a general plan policy that said the city encourages races and other types of programs. And Ziad reviewed the proposals that were provided, I believe, by Mr.
Krippenstewart,
And he said that the funds needed to provide either assistance or to purchase those devices would be within his budget, of which there's a fund established for emergency preparedness, similar items, so that he would simply, his plan was to simply implement it under his own authority. Since he doesn't work here anymore, you should probably begin that process.
And maybe get us and Bill Krippenstewart together with this guy and we'll figure it out, right?
That's where I would start.
Okay.
That's,
I spent the morning with Bill. He brought over his suitcase full of electronics and
jeez.
batteries.
Poor guy.
And tried to kind of understand what was going on with his amateur radio emergency data network.
Yeah.
And actually, it was pretty interesting what he's got there. He speaks a whole different language, obviously, but he did bring it up, and I was able to see that you can do email on it. You can, what they call IP phones, Internet Protocol telephones. They have a Department of Defense application that they developed to target drones, unfriendlies, and that was available for them to use. They took out the actual implementation of firing missiles and stuff out of it. But the
Good
drone
job.
would track people on the ground.
Yeah.
They'd tell you where it is, where the drone's looking. And I was wondering, does the which kind of sheriff department have that capability already with drones?
We have
to do that?
the UAV program. It's unmanned aerial vehicles. Right now it's being headed up by the Air Support Bureau, but there's a pilot program that'll be starting very soon in each of the divisions, a 6-month program to test it, where it'll be kind of regionally located instead of just air support. The ultimate goal is after this 6-month program, if the department buys off on it, then every city will have their own drone. We already have a couple of people in San Clemente who are drone pilots certified. So it's just a matter of getting the blessings from the department and showing a value to it, like a return on the investment.
It would seem like marine safety and fire would also want to have that capability.
We have a drone program as well.
Okay.
We use them quite a bit for, our biggest use that we use it for is after vegetation fires, using the infrared and finding the hot spots. And
Yeah.
we use it quite a bit.
Okay.
You know, one of the biggest things about my concerns about this is sometimes when you bring a volunteer organization in to supplement a professional organization, it ends up being more work than it's worth. And that's one of the things that I noticed when I was on the job. So that would be the goal. We don't create more work for these guys, you know, because we're not going to change their organizational structure or how they respond to things. So since you're going to be on that committee, that's one of the biggest things I think is,
Well, we're getting into technology now,
right?
okay?
But you
And
gotta
that's
consider-
another committee.
Yeah,
You got to
exactly.
consider that when
Yeah.
you start.
I look at myself as kind of a liaison to whoever is really handling that particular task. You know, their advocate on the Public Safety Committee.
So going into technology, that work plan? Now, Gary Walsh and I were working on it. Charlie, would you like to join me on that one?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we had legislation, and here's the one where we're going to miss Gary terribly. I mean, he was a subject matter expert. That's what he did at LA Fire. That's what he did, was the legislation analyst. So, I mean, I can.
Do we need that? on our committee? Does the city have ways to get that stuff from community OCSD? or-
Well, they do, but I don't think that do they separate public safety from all, I mean, do they do that?
Just in a certain,
You know,
in a certain way they do. So there's a lot of legislative review that occurs. I review legislation that has zoning or housing impacts.
But is there a
things that
person that
affect-
does public safety? Is there somebody that's responsible for that?
BBK will keep their eye on public safety related items. I think the idea for this last work plan was that it was more of a citizen-led effort, looking at probably more than what any other group is going to review. I'm assuming that OCSD and OCFA have legislative review and it's robust.
Do we need to stick that up?
So I know the fire does. Do you guys have legislative review in your department?
Yeah.
Is there somebody that would be willing to talk to me every now and then if I called and just said, hey, could you give me a little update on what's in the,
I could ask.
I think the fire department would probably be willing to.
Now, what I'll do is I'll look, we just came out with our annual pamphlet of all legislation affecting fire service and the communities we serve.
Right.
Let me get that, I'll forward it off to you.
Okay.
Jay Barkman is our guy that does nothing but legislative analyst.
I know the fire department's really good at it.
Fire department.
I'm not saying like, we don't even have to talk. If you could just maybe ship off, hey, Assembly Bill 301, interesting, or whatever, you know, and I can do some of it on my own also. My wife is really good at it, and I can get her help. So I think we ought to keep legislation on our work plan. I think it's just kind of a fluid thing. It's nothing that, you know, we have to, but I think it would be good to keep, and I'll go ahead and take that.
now, Rick, do you get the county review every Friday? Have you gotten that one?
I
If not,
don't, but I can.
I'll zip it off to you. 'cause
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of things I can sign up for and get.
Well, I've been kind of looking it over and, you know, glazed over, looking at a lot of that stuff, but every so often you look through there real carefully, you can pick out little things.
I know, and you've
here and
emailed stuff. Yeah, let's just keep it, and I'll be on that committee, and, I mean, if somebody wants to be on that with
Sure.
me, fine.
I think that'd be great. Yeah, because statistical information and review is the work plan on that, so.
On which one?
It's the statistical information and review.
Is the work plan on what?
The legislative.
No, legislative.
It's separate.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
it's legislative review, I'm sorry.
Right, that's the one I'm talking about
That's
right
it,
now.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna do, you wanna do that
Yeah.
alone type thing?
I
or do you want
can,
some help?
I mean, because as we get, you guys are already taking up something that's gonna keep you really busy, and Joe and I have already taken up some things that keep us really busy. This other stuff, you know,
I don't think you spend a whole bunch of time on that, you know.
yeah, I can do it. If I start to have a problem,
You know, I think with good connections.
Exactly.
There's
It's
a lot of
not-
people that are already doing the work.
it's going to be assimilating information. It's not going to be going out and tracking it down. So I think I can do it. If I have a problem with it, I'll let you guys know.
Got it. Sounds appropriate. Good, especially if you can do that. Now, what happens with this homeless and best management practice for public safety personnel?
We've been taken out of that.
Well, the subcommittee's been taken out. But we still need to have a homeless facet of our work plan as it relates to public safety. It won't be the same as the homeless subcommittee. That was a little different thing. And the Human Affairs Committee has a part of it as far as services and outreach and all that, which we were doing in the joint homeless subcommittee before. So Human Affairs has that. I still think we need a facet of that as far as it relates directly to public safety.
What would our objectives be for that?
Is just to keep the committee updated on any issues and then forward those concerns to city council if there are any. And this is getting more than just,
Because we have Carly now.
she's the outreach person. She's not involved in public safety. She's outreach. This is how it would relate to homelessness as far as as far as the penal code goes, and to enforcing the penal code, which should be pretty simple now, if you just don't enforce much of the penal code, as far as,
I think he's talking here.
you know who I'm talking to. As far as the, sleeping on public property and all that, that's all been kind of figured out. But let's say, there was an issue for a while, the homeless being on the train platform. And we passed municipal codes that said unless you have a ticket, you can't be on the train platform. So this is things that could be discussed at this committee and brought forward by either the council or by citizens or whatever. We can kind of look at these things. I don't think it's kind of played out the way it's going to play out. So I don't think it's going to be a huge thing. But we're public safety, and homeless definitely affects public safety at times. So
Let me
So our work plan for it would be what then? What would be our goal, just to keep?
yeah, stay apprised of the homeless issue as it relates to public
Would
safety.
you like me to read the purpose, goals, and deliverables?
That would be helpful. Why don't you just jump in any time and save us all this
All
time?
right, so the purpose is, the issue of homelessness continues to be one of the greatest challenges facing municipal public agencies within San Clemente and outside its jurisdiction. This committee will identify issues as they relate specifically to the established responsibilities of San Clemente's public safety entities, including identifying impacts from potential modifications to established responsibilities or new proposed responsibilities which are likely to result in significant operational change. The goals are that the committee will identify strategies to improve the effectiveness of our public safety personnel's ability to, 1, address the needs of the homeless as they pertain to contacts with public safety personnel, 2, identify laws, policies, and programs to ensure the City of San Clemente's public safety personnel are operating within accepted protocols, 3, ensure that the safety and welfare of the public is strictly maintained.
You know why that sounds so familiar to me? Because I was on that subcommittee, and that's what Tyler and I, we submitted like the first 4 sentences, and you just took and added all the other good stuff. That was good.
It was voted on by the committee. So
Seems like it works.
It worked, and that's why it seems so familiar. So I just suggest we keep that just exactly the way it is. It didn't seem to overburden our committee last year, and I don't think it will this time. And I'd like to continue on that committee. With also what I was hoping, and I'll bring this isn't new business, but is specifically this. I'd like myself, and if somebody else is working with me, I talked to some human affairs people that might maybe have us join one of their meetings to sit in and listen every now and then when they're having a good speaker and whatever, not as a subcommittee, just as participation.
Yeah.
So, and I would love to have Joe with me on that if that's. All right.
You're good with that, Joe?
Sure.
Got it. Okay. Ooh, yeah.
So assuming we're just following the last annual work plan,
Yeah.
before we discuss any new ideas, the last item is statistical information and review.
Right.
And I will just go on the record to say, this is the one item that the city council specifically directed this committee to work on.
So that's
It's codified.
Yeah, that's the.
The performance measures.
Performance
Okay.
measures
Yeah.
and related items.
Got it.
It's appropriate to address the performance measures now? Because it sounds like it's not new business now. It sounds like it was old business since.
Well, we're doing
What do
kind
you-
of review of the work plans as far as, that, as far as digging into each one, not yet.
Yeah, we're just
No, I wanna
establishing
have
what
a new
our
one.
plan
I
will be.
mean, I wanna-
You want to, well,
This
hang on, let's.
This is old business?
Well, it'll.
No, it's new business. We're establishing our new work plan for this committee, but we're just
Right.
establishing it, the work plan. We're not working on it
Yeah, well,
here.
Well, I'd like to establish a new item on the work plan. When is
Well,
it?
let's get through this one first.
Yeah.
I thought we were.
So, just for committee member Hightower's information, what the committee did last time was they developed the general topics for each work plan idea concept, and then we broke into non-core groups. 2 people went away, created the individual work plans. They came back to the next meeting assembled everything, everybody looked at all of the documents as a quorum and decided what they were going to keep and not. If we're assuming that a similar thing would be accomplished this time, at this meeting, we'll discuss the general topics of each item. If you need to convince or get the, encourage people to accept a new idea, that this probably would be a good time to actually provide that information for why it's important.
I agree.
So I'm assuming that the statistical information one is remaining the same,
Well,
and then we can move on to.
You want to
I like
read
what
it,
he
just for
has to say.
clarification, maybe that one?
I like to hear what he has to say.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, we just get through this
Finish
one,
the
then
statistical.
we'll
Yeah.
go
and
with
move
Charlie.
on with it.
Because I've got something I kind of want to add too, but I'll wait till we're done with
Yeah.
the ones we.
And your ideas, those are related to performance measures.
Right.
Okay, would you like me to read the last work plan or part of it, just to let you know what it already includes?
Yeah, I think everybody might like to hear that. That's what the city council really established the committee for, I believe, is review performance measures, make recommendations, city council.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to accomplish that, the last work plan included statistical information and review, the purpose being the gathering and analyzing of statistics related to public safety incidents is essential to initiate successful strategies on how the city deploys its police, fire, marine safety, park rangers, and code compliance personnel and related resources. Another important component of this information gathering is its dissemination to the general public. An accurate understanding of the public safety issues affecting particular neighborhoods provides the public with a better sense of clarity and ownership in regards to public safety issues in their community. The goals are to gather, collate, and evaluate data pertaining to citizen requests, to number 2, gather, collate, and evaluate statistics pertaining to crime. Number 3, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, the goals are a rather long section. Number 3, investigate the best methods for making the aforementioned data available to the public. 4, review the city's current performance measures regarding OCSD, OCFA, marine safety, park rangers, and code compliance. Determine if additional or alternative measures are appropriate and whether comparative benchmarks for public safety personnel performance should be revised or established. And number 5, as an ongoing component of this project, the Public Safety Committee will review quarterly performance measures submitted by the various groups. And then with the deliverable being a report.
Okay. Charlie? Do you have
Okay, well-
input on that one?
Yeah, that was a mouthful. That's an awful lot of work. But I think the reason I was interested in being on the committee, I think, is because the city council really is interested in, what your roles are doing and how they affect San Clemente, the citizens of San Clemente, and your job. I was on a fire district in Utah. It was an elected position, and I'm kind of used to having to deal with that sort of thing. How effective was our fire department up there? It's important. It's to people that are controlling the finances, that are involved with the facilities, all that sort of thing. So I understand how important measures of performance are. And it appears that to me, and I think to some of the members on the council, that we weren't looking at some of the other organizations like we should be. The police, for sure. Marine safety, not so much. Fire, I don't think that was addressed too much. And I believe I was appointed primarily because of the background I had in fire department, fire service. I wish I had a little bit more in marine safety. But what I would like to, what I was proposing to do was, in that particular case, be the point of contact for the city council primarily with Rob here to understand what their measures of performance are now. There's so many performance measures there are. There's the National Fire Prevention Association Standard 1710. There's the Committee of Accreditation of Fire Departments International and so forth, which you guys have gone through. And all the cities, all the cities in the United States go through this. Well, I think it needs to be done too for the city of San Clemente. So basically, I've kind of gone through some of the research. I've seen what's on the OCFA to get that acronym buried in there. What's on your website there? And it's a good start. It looked like. I need to understand it. I'd like to, to work with the fire department, understand that better, and then find out from their point of view too what they think are good measures. What should the city council be told about your performance? Everybody knows about response times. How quickly do the fire people get out there after a call from the dispatch? How fast the EMTs get out there? What kind of incidents you had, accidents, fires, and all that. So I'd like to put something together that, in an elevator, I could talk with one of the city council members if they touch base with me and ask me what's going on. I could say this, and this, and by the way, you need to think about this kind of thing. That's the general theme. I mean, I'll put together a work plan and make it more detailed, but that's kind of the role, along with the communication thing. And if I had time, I would try and do that with the Marine. Give the Marine Division.
We do have two council members that sit on the OCFA
Right.
Fire Authority Board.
Right.
So they do know a little bit about what's going on in the big picture. But isn't what Charlie said, isn't that covered by that work plan? The wording of the work plan we have? Anything that deviates that we have to add?
Well, the work plan was written in a way that's rather liberal and in specific direction. So nothing that you said makes me think that what you want to do isn't already covered in the work plan. What I will say though is we've gone through and essentially identified that every single work plan project that's in the last year's work plan should remain. We've identified the committee members that will address it. Statistics and review, it will be another one of those where I'm assuming 2 people will take it for the next month or 3 weeks or so, and as part of the next meeting, will make any modifications that they want. So if that's something that would interest you. Participation.
I don't know about statistics and review, but the performance measures is what I would
That is part of the statistics.
Yeah,
that's part of that part of the
You
work
can't just
plan.
take,
Oh, is it? Okay.
yeah. So if you're on that, the other committee member's gonna have to be the police side of it. What do you say?
And that's fine. I'll do that. I think wasn't I on it last time? Also, it seems performance measures. I think it was.
I think it was you and I last time.
Okay. Well, I'll continue, and
Okay.
we didn't split it, police and fire, particularly last time. It was kind of a generic thing
Right.
because we didn't get a whole lot of information from the police department. So there was not much to report except anything that you could just go on their website and find. There was not many specifics.
I think the city council wants a little more than that. but-
Oh no, I think you're absolutely right, and
And the analysis of, having background in it is to say, is the data that we're getting from the folks make sense?
Right, exactly.
Because if the city council says to us, what does this mean?
Yeah.
You got the quantitative analysis, what's the qualitative analysis?
And just for clarification again, just because the only reason we have 2 people on a subcommittee is because that way you can get together without any violation of the Brown Act. You don't have a quorum, and so if you want to meet every day, you can to work on this. But it's still brought back, and the whole body here has input on anything that's on that work plan. So it's not like all of a sudden, well, here's what we've done and here's what we're doing. Like, again, it's all brought back here, and then we have input and decide where we go in direction. So
That's the idea.
Sounds like you and Rick?
What about marine safety, though? We're supposed to be doing it for them too, right?
Well, we do, but you see, since they haven't had a drowning here in like, how's it been, 70 years now
41
or
years
something?
1 in 42.
There was
42.
In 1942.
2009.
Oh, 2009, but that's,
Medical related
okay, but that's the only one we've had.
in 42 years.
In 42 years, okay, so you see,
That's why we want to keep it.
performance measures are kind of hard to argue with. Whatever they're doing, they seem to be doing a really good job, so, and they make their statistics, they're very clear, how many visitors they have to the beach, how many rescues they had. It's, I don't
That's the
know.
thing that, and I agree, because that's, I looked on your website.
Yeah.
But City council needs to know that from this committee, I think. You know it.
Well, they know it directly. I mean, Rob comes and makes a report, reports to the
Well,
city
okay,
council.
it's fine with me, but it seems like they would like this committee to back.
That's what they had the committee for, that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons. So, since you guys are on that committee, I think you have to look at all three of them, not just one or two.
Oh, no,
Well, there's two others that
Well-
you haven't even talked about yet. Code compliance
Park ring.
and park rangers, right?
Well, that's true.
And all of those groups as performance measures are, each division is required to provide a quarterly summary of our data. When it's requested by the city, those quarterly numbers are then reported to the Public Safety Committee for just review. And at that time, any investigation or introspection can occur. Those quarterly numbers, though, all end up in the city's budget, so they're included within the proposed budget and reviewed by the city council at that time. And I think part of the impetus for wanting a separate group to look and advise about performance measures is because this is once a year that these performance measures are included in a document that's 500 pages long and has the entire weight of running the city in it. So I think it's more of it's less of an impacted review because it's essentially being pulled out of and I'm not saying it's getting pulled out of the budget process, but it's relying on a separate group other than the council during the budget process to review performance measures.
It's another set of eyes that can look at this stuff and say, are these reviews, are these performance measures appropriate? Or are they just fluff? Or is there something else that should be in there? Right?
Well, it's more than that. Somebody needs to explain that this performance measure there's a problem with that performance measure, and here's why there's a problem, and here's what we need to do about it. Performance measures by themselves, I think, are pretty much worthless. You can do anything with performance measurement, but you need to understand what's behind them and how that affects whoever is responsible for that particular work.
That's fair.
There you go.
Yeah,
So it's
these guys need some help,
right, but we're there to also assist in saying, hey, we need to know more information and
Right.
know where to get it, type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well, you got to start there. Yeah.
Especially when the city is deliberating on budgets and stuff like that.
Well, it all comes back to the budget ultimately.
Follow the money. Right.
Okay, so just to clarify, we have decided that the committee will work on the work plan projects from last year, present them at the next meeting. And so I believe there have been discussions in the past about additional work plan items to be contemplated in this
Right.
current fiscal year.
Okay. And Rick has got an input on.
Well, the human, I don't know if any of you watched the Human Affairs Committee meeting, but they went over their work plan, and something came up that I know is an issue, and they didn't officially refer it to public safety, but they said this is a public safety issue, and that's the specific issue of human trafficking, which is a big deal. Is that kind of a big deal in the sheriff's human trafficking? I mean, it's like a buzzword, I know.
It is, but I think a lot of people are unclear maybe the difference between human trafficking and say like human smuggling.
Right.
And even those that understand that it's this kind of the sex trade we're talking about.
Right, and that's what I think primarily people, can consider it, or the concern is. I don't know, I've been told by citizens that human trafficking in San Clemente is a big issue. I don't know, I mean, I know we have a couple of massage parlors, but is it a big?
Well, there is a committee,
Issue.
there is a group of people here, I think it's called the I-5 Committee.
Freedom
Yeah,
Network.
Yeah, is it?
High Five Freedom Network.
Yeah, item free, yeah, and
That's
they're
not
really.
part of
they're-
QAnon. Is that the QAnon group that's human trafficking? This is a real thing. Oh, no, I know somebody that's involved, well, you met her.
Yeah.
Sally Guan. Okay, so, and that's actually who also brought it up to me.
Well, she's with a different group, but the
But
same,
similar kind of deal.
Same focus.
So I know there are a lot of citizens in town that this is a big thing. So I don't mind having, and maybe we can stick it somewhere else existing in our work plan to make it a component of that. I don't, maybe we can't, but
I know it was a focus of the Human Affairs Committee in the past.
And they've had-
Previously, the planning division worked with them to update our massage establishment ordinance to increase the regulations that are most likely to have a positive effect on identifying human trafficking victims.
Right.
And the council was they're the ones that ultimately adopted that. And I think there was some discussion, about potential needs to go further. I don't remember exactly the date, but I could provide you the date, and you could go review those council videos and maybe get some idea of what kinds of impacts they were talking about.
Okay.
The I-5 Freedom Network at that time was really, their biggest push was to update our massage regulations, which we did.
And that's why they brought it up in the Human Affairs Committee, say that, massage regulations aren't part of human affairs, it's part of public safety. Because as soon as that's what they said. I wasn't there. I just listened to it.
I'm not going to say that the city does not deal with massage establishments.
I know that's code enforcement, right? Isn't that good?
Well, it depends on what is occurring. At the beginning of last year, we had Vice notified city staff of an issue at a massage establishment. We ended up going in and shutting that establishment down through our city prosecutor's office, taking the owners to prosecuting them in court. We're only able to prosecute for misdemeanors, but it's not an uncommon issue.
You want to add that about Rick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, guys,
I don't want to add it. I don't need that.
Well, we're an advisory, we're not going to be investigating.
Yeah, we're not going to be investigating it. I'm just trying to figure out a place to put it. God, can we even put it under legislation or review under like best practices or something that or common practices and when you're talking about like legal updates and all that? I don't think this is going to take a bunch of time. I don't think there's anything we can do about it. But,
That's the point. We can't do anything about it while you went under.
well, because it's part of public safety, and is it?
Well, it's arguable, but I don't think, I'm not sure it is.
Well, as a cop, I think it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. Do you think human trafficking falls as an issue of public safety?
Well, we have a bureau that's dedicated to it.
That's what I mean. The sheriff's will go, I don't know. It's not public safety. We don't deal with it. I don't think as law enforcement, it is an issue.
I think for like as a procedural concept, maybe if the committee agrees to have somebody look into ways that there could be a work plan project related to it, then you could go and either try to find somewhere else it fits, or go through the process of creating its own work plan.
Okay.
Then the committee can look at it next time and decide whether.
I'll do some research on that, and I'll get together with some human affairs people also and kind of get them to enlighten on what their thought process was, and I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, Rick, working that here in San Clemente, so they may, just as you get familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah, I know some people to contact for sure.
Yeah.
And it's so for certain types of folks, it's a big problem, but for the majority of it, they have no idea
Yeah,
what's going
exactly.
on, and
Right.
that's where you need presentations of these people coming in and says, here's what's happening in town, and here's what's happening in the community, the region type thing, because, well, I'm not sensitive to that at all.
No, that's a great idea. That'd be a great future presentation with somebody that's a subject matter
Absolutely.
expert. That's a
Sure.
great idea. Okay. Well, this is kind of for optics because there are so many concerned citizens. So just, I think to at least have it in our trick bag somewhere where we can say,
Well, yeah,
no,
women
that's a
are really
component."
worried about it. I mean,
Yeah.
my wife, it's a big thing to her, and the ladies in the church too. That's,
Yeah.
so as men, we need to recognize.
I'll figure it
that
out.
Just have sensitivity there.
Super. Okay.
There's another one though, and I thought someone might bring it up, but there was a lady killed here, not just down in Dana Park, San Juan Capistrano, on an electric bike.
That happened?
Yeah, she got two kids on.
Over the weekend. Yeah.
Did you know that? I didn't know. Yeah, she was drunk apparently, and she had
They
two
didn't
kids on the
have it.
bike with her. Didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Did you guys respond to that? I mean, did you?
Yeah, us and the sheriff were both there. 30-year-old, a mom in her 30s, mom and dad were there. She was pulling two kids, a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old behind her. I don't believe she had a helmet on. Exactly what caused the accident, not sure, but they all ended up going down into San Juan Creek. It sounds like the kids were expelled from the
Trailer or whatever.
trailer.
She went straight down the cement wall.
I don't know exactly what caused it.
Okay.
I don't know if she
There's
hit a
rip
curb, but long story short, she wasn't wearing a helmet. The kids were. She was pronounced, one of the children had significant facial trauma, was intubated, has since been extubated, and doing better, and then the 4-year-old is stable and he's doing okay.
His dad was with him.
Dad watched the whole thing.
Yeah, he was on another bike.
On another bike?
I don't know if there's alcohol involved. I don't know the cause.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I saw the
Yeah.
the TV interview on the thing, and where they're putting the flowers for the memorial, and it's on the flood control channel, right? The bike
The
thing.
bike down there.
And there's a curb, and then there's riprap down. So she hit that and went into the rock.
I heard she hit the curb somehow. I don't know what caused it.
Yeah.
Was going 20 miles an hour.
Ended up in the rocks.
Right.
Well, the point I brought it up was, this seems like a you're talking, people in San Clemente, this is a big issue here, is e-bikes. I was on the beach trail, and somebody in their wisdom painted, "Walk your bike" down there. Some young man came up on his bike, looked at it, pulled a wheelie, almost ran right into me, And I yelled at him, "Hey, you're supposed to walk your bike." And he said, "I can't hear you." This, that kind of attitude, it just is so frustrating.
To clarify this specific issue, we went over this extensively last year. The city council directed it as a beaches and parks issue, or who addressed the e-bikes. We did have a joint meeting with them at one time. They made some recommendations, and the city council did what they did. The city council has said that it's primarily a beaches and parks things, although I do have something.
We gotta disagree with that.
I completely disagree.
We're talking about this other thing,
I-
public safety.
I completely disagree. I think everybody knows what my feeling on that is, but that's what the council has, and maybe the council will change their mind. And, which maybe now's a good time to bring this up now on the work plan. I know it's not a good time for you, but it's a great time for me. I chatted with two city council members, so as not to violate the Brown Act, and separately with the city manager on an issue that I think is really important to make this committee more effective. And the fact is, last year, something would come up, e-bikes came up. And could we address that? Well, no, because it's not on our work plan. So we needed to wait a year. So I suggested to the two city council people that seemed to be very excited about this idea, and the city manager seemed to be good with it, is to have some fluid activity here. When something is brought up either by a citizen or something that we see, or the police department, that is a public safety issue, that we can address the city council sooner than later on it. And the process that we seem to all come in agreement is that, number one, it can't be just one of it. Like, you can't go, you see the city, and so you just contact the city council. you can as a private citizen, but not as a committee member. This has to be done through a committee meeting like this under new business or something. And if we agree that, let's say it's e-bikes, let's just use that as a great example, that we've been told by citizens, our own observations, the police department, and now an accident, that the e-bike situation with the speeds and not wearing helmets is certainly becoming an issue again. We can send city council like a white paper, and maybe you'll be able to explain exactly what that entails, but like a memo. And it's not saying we recommend this, that you should do this. All it's saying is, this has come up that you probably should be aware of. If they want to take it and look at it and go, that's what they do. If they want to say, gee, we need to send this to beaches and parks or public safety for more information, that's what they do. It's just an informative thing, not any, like I say, no recommendations, no nothing. It's just this has come up. It's a public safety issue. What do you think? And I think it's a great idea. I really do, because sometimes things just come up. Things might come with the fire department, all of a sudden issues. I don't know anything about fire department, as Rob knows, but something might come up that, gee, the city, needs to not only know from you, but they need to know that the public, this is really a public interest thing. And so I think it's a really good
I
idea.
do too, so where do we stand?
The city manager is bought off on it, as far as I know, right?
Well, the committees can make reports to the city council.
This has not been the process where something has not gone through staff up and down to examine it and budget. This is something that's just, like I say, this is brand new as far as Eric
There's
thinks.
another component to this thing, it's the immediacy,
Right.
rather than having to wait a month to say, we'd like to put together a letter to the city council saying we should look at, right?
Yes, this is not something that staff looks at and say, well, what's the fiscal impact and all
But if
this.
the committee wants to speak on behalf of the committee to the council, you're going to have to meet before that city council meeting.
Well, this is something comes, if it was gonna, well, it wouldn't be a
Let's say
tonight.
something came up at the very beginning of this month.
Right.
You'd have to wait 4 Tuesdays to get together to talk about sending something to the council, which they've got a meeting tonight, there's no way it's getting.
Unless we got 72 hours to post a
Well,
special meeting.
Unless the city manager wanted to put it on the agenda.
I mean, anybody could, that's where you get into speaking as a private citizen. But if you want to speak for the committee, you're going to have to meet as a committee to make that
Right.
determination first.
I think that's what he said.
I think that's exactly what I said. This is not something that one member goes and writes it up and sends it to the city council. And it has to be discussed at a meeting,
Yes.
and then doesn't go through staff for a month or 2 months and then come back and then go back. This is something that goes to the city council directly.
Yes.
And it could be
This is-
expedited with a special meeting.
Well,
Right.
No, absolutely.
Well, it could.
Yeah, if the committee.
I don't see that
puts
happening
together
too
a
often.
special.
But on emergent type
Yeah.
things.
But this is directly in relation to the e-bike thing. When Gary and I brought up the fact, a couple of suggestions, and we were told it's not on your work plan, so you can't even deal with it.
That's right.
So this puts a process to where something can come out of this committee and go to the city council. And again, it's not a recommendation, it's an information. It's not we're saying, you need to do something about these e-bikes, you need to make the speed limit 10 miles an hour. It's something like, we've had more accidents, this might have changed on this street, and it's totally like, yes, could we do it as a citizen? Absolutely. But I don't think that the 2 council members I spoke to or the city manager thought that we should do it as citizens. They thought it was important to come out of a committee because you have subject matter experts.
Yeah.
So that's what I was told. I don't know.
Okay, so if there's a process for that, which I'm assuming is going to be under the committee reports to the council at the end of the meeting, then it doesn't sound like we need a work plan project.
Oh no, this isn't a work plan.
It's information.
This is a procedural something that we asked to put in place, and apparently have gotten some support from the council and city manager.
Okay.
Just, it's not a work plan, it's a procedural thing that probably could be rubber stamped at some point when you say what that process is. I mean, it might even just be writing up the committee, looked at this, are you interested on a 3x5 card, I guess.
Wouldn't these gentlemen here, though, be part of that too? I mean, a very critical component to.
Well, they're at our meetings, exactly, we have to discuss it at a meeting.
Yeah, they would be involved in this.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, we're helping them out, I think, by going to the city council with some.
Because
Yeah.
whatever that, I don't know what has come up, but if something came up, whatever that thing is we want to discuss, we would use them with their input to say, well, gee, what, do you think this is, have you already addressed it? It might be something they're already addressing.
Right, exactly.
And if it is, then we're done. If it's something that could, well, yeah, maybe the city council should be made aware at least that this is happening, then we can just send it off to them. And see, they're lucky because they don't vote, so their name's on nothing, so it all comes back on us if looking stupid.
One of the things with the stats and performance evaluation thing you're to get into, stats like on e-bikes. We don't have good stats on how many people get in accidents, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So that's going to be part of your committee to come up with that. And through that, one of the means we can set that, with the council. So I think that doesn't have to be agendized, but through stuff like that, we can do that, so.
So do you keep stats on e-bike accidents or just vehicle accidents? How do you define those?
We started about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We're great.
We have something in our electronic reporting system. We check the box if it's
Really?
e-bike related up to
That's
about
awesome.
when we started all talking about
Right,
it. So
exactly.
we changed our reporting. Before that, we literally had to do a search of all bike accidents to see if the crews actually put e-bike in there versus what wasn't very accurate.
Yeah, because we were talking about 9-10 months ago, we started talking about this, and I know you said, well, we did respond to an act, you just happened to remember
Right.
one, but it wasn't stats, and now this is great, so now we're going
That's what
to.
came, one of the things that came out of this committee is we changed our reporting and
There you go, we get a win.
So now the next part is with the sheriff's department.
Right.
About how many citations on bike safety or whatever, that end of it.
It's never happened in San Clemente, I know for a fact, we've never had a ticket written to an e-bike. I was told personally, oh no, you guys wrote one on the pier, I know
Not
for
for
sure.
helmets or for.
Yeah, or they were just on the pier, right? Wasn't that what you
It was
guys?
on the pier.
Yeah,
It's going to be real difficult.
After he had 2 warnings.
Oh.
that's awesome, I mean,
And he
you,
almost
Well, that's
ran
gonna be
over
real
like an
difficult.
80-year-old lady.
They-
But there is a tracking system on the city website for e-bikes, for complaints, injuries, whatever observation there is. And I believe it's going to be coming back to council, the e-bikes citywide and the beach trail, I think maybe in October or November.
and I've heard a rumor, maybe you've seen it on the CHP, what are the 180, or the traffic forms, or whatever. I've heard that they were going to or already put in an e-bike thing on there.
I'll have to look, I haven't.
Yeah, I
seen
mean,
it.
I don't know if it's happened,
See if
but they've been talking about it.
That's the question I got, Kevin Banfield, is that we all see e-bikes in town, and they act like bicycles when they're the traffic permits, or they act like cars when the traffic.
They're
permits.
motorcycles.
Yeah, they're in their left-hand lane, and the light changes, they go there to the crosswalk, to get by. And I mean, it would be real difficult to pull these kids over, even ticket them, but that's something that's happened, it's normal out there now. Every day you see these kids with a surfboard, and they're zipping up to town, everywhere. And so somehow we're gonna have to start ticketing them or keeping track of it, or maybe we don't, and that's gonna be the new normal, but what's your thoughts on that?
To your thing is what you need is some objective statistics to say, is there a problem? Go without something objective.
Well, we
don't know.
we worked on that
You don't want to wait
last
until
time.
it's become a crisis.
I mean, we worked
That's the
live.
thing. And
Yeah.
I'd like to prevent what we were
Right,
worried about.
but you gotta
So-
know,
Yeah.
Well, that's what council
Do we have-
direction was, they couldn't make a decision because they needed stats.
Yeah.
And that's why they put that form up online, so
Yeah.
that's all come to fruition.
And that's on the city website
Yeah.
someplace?
In October.
now, is that a citizen report, or is that from you guys? report?
No citizen report, so you can upload photos or just, anonymously.
Instead of just putting it on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us
I-
edited
I-
in the San
I didn't know
Clemente
that.
Times. There are all sorts of nasty letters about e-bike riders.
It's definitely an issue in town, and
So, just to get this conversation focused back on the work plan, are you looking at establishing, or would you like me to put e-bike regulations on the list. I know the council has.
Yeah, that's too specific. I think it should be traffic-related stuff, or because we're getting too narrow.
Yeah.
And you need a little more, like I said, literal, a little broader.
It's not e-bikes, drivers too, it's road conditions, it's
Bicycles.
DMV
How about
laws.
just plain bicycles? We've got the same problems, helmets and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could put something, we can make it very generic. I know you hate generic, or not you personally, but I know it's hated word plans to be so generic. We learned that when we thought our last word plan was pretty generic, and then it turned out that it wasn't. But how about bicycle safety? An e-bike's a bicycle, I mean, just bicycle safety, and then we should be able to address all facets of e-bikes.
Then you got scooters. Is that considered a bicycle?
I don't think it is. Is a
Those
scooter a
guys on
bicycle?
the unicycles with motors on them.
Well, it's got it.
Okay.
I say we wait to get some stats.
Under
going.
recreation and community.
Yeah.
If he could keep that stuff, and all of a sudden, then we make a report to the council then.
Well, yeah, but we do have to finalize this word plan at some point. We can't add to the word.
Right, we don't have to.
Right.
So, what I'm doing is taking a list of all the work plan ideas, topics, identifying the people who have been preliminarily assigned to deal with those items.
Good.
If we want to just get all those ideas out and all of those assignments, I'll go back and read through it again. And if there's a question of what should it be, traffic or bicycle safety, I have a question, and we can address that when we get back. Or you can decide right now. I want to make sure we get through we have time to get through all of the ideas.
And by the way, these meetings, this is the longest meeting you're ever going to be at, by the way, is this?
Don't
No, it will until later tonight.
You mean the public safety committee meeting?
Yes, oh, yeah, well, yeah, your other meeting, who cares about that? Oh, look, he's running out the door right now.
Yeah,
Look at that guy.
What a guy.
There's a special council meeting that starts at 5 today.
I know.
He's getting us something.
Closed session, so
That's okay.
The regular meeting's at 6.
yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, I think we ought to have something on e-bikes on our work plan. I mean, there's so many citizens that are upset about this and continue every San Clemente Times, every week there's something in there.
Well,
and there's some,
But, okay, that's good, but we're not thinking in the future as far as things that haven't even been invented yet. I mean, so modes of transportation would be, like, traffic is that, but modes of transportation.
you talk about Jensen's cars.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
New modes of transport, there's got to be something that describes something new that's come along, that
right.
our culture's changed
But make it
now.
generic enough to encompass that, so we just, oh yeah, that fits in the plan. We'll start
Okay.
looking at
Okay,
it.
we'll think about that and talk about it next time.
Yeah, you want to let it ruminate a little bit?
Yeah.
Let it
Yeah,
run.
you can't decide.
Everybody let it ruminate how that should be
Yeah,
worded
let's
and all
move
that, and then we'll all come with an idea.
An idea.
And then the three of you guys will figure it out, and we'll be.
The three of you guys.
No, we'll give it to marine safety. Let people ride on their beaches.
The bikes on the beach, geez, yeah. On the high tide, that's the good one too, Gee whiz. Okay. Any more on work plans right now?
Unless there are more ideas.
Or more ideas?
Or you'd like to talk to our public safety representatives, and see if they have some ideas.
That would be
What an idea. Is there areas that, of interest to you that we should be looking at to help you do your job?
I have one that might include and probably fit into your work plan, but as you do your statistical research, include doctors or care ambulance in that. Countywide, statewide, there's been a shortage of EMTs and ambulance drivers. Countywide, there's been extremely long response times. I think the city and the way that you are set up have been shielded by that, but it's definitely something to kind of watch. We're watching it countywide. I haven't heard issues in San Clemente since you have your own contract directly with CARE, but some of the cities have had extremely long response times. Anaheim has made their own They've taken over ambulance response. Laguna's in the process of it. So it's something to watch. So when you maybe include their stats.
Do we have 201, 203 rights?
You do.
We do
Which
have.
is, you always have, which is why you have a direct contract between the city and CARE. OCFA is not part of that, nor do we monitor or watch those stats. We notice it as we're running calls, and like I said, CARE's been okay in San Clemente, but as these things develop, and really it's a statewide issue. That's
Do you
kinda-
guys transport any cities?
We do not,
You know,
no. So Westminster has a similar setup that you do with their 201 rights. A lot of cities have 201 rights, but not many are exercising them. Seal Beach, Santa Ana, a lot of cities have them, even Buena Park, but you and Westminster are the only ones that have
Huntington
direct
Beach still does?
contact. Huntington Beach transports with the fire department.
right.
Anaheim.
And that's
just
not an
started.
option with OCS.
Orange. It is.
It is?
Could be. I think it may be in the future. We're not there yet, but we are closely monitoring it. We've tried about 20 years ago. We used to do something in San Clemente, but it's really hard when you only have, at the time, we only had 1.5 ambulances, seasonal ambulance, so it's hard to staff that year-round when you only have 1.5 ambulances and having depth for when
A
someone
lot of
calls. in sick,
downtimes,
so-
you have a hospital there. so-
We'll see. There's a lot of state legislation that's being challenged by the CPF, California Professional Firefighters, and the Cal Fire Chiefs. There's a lot of changes coming. Whether or not we get in the business, I think there's a desire to capture that revenue, and rather it going to some huge private conglomerate coming back to the city to help offset. So there's some benefits to it. Not that the fire departments are necessarily trying to make money outside of you guys are. So we'll see what comes, and that's not really where I'm going with it. But as far as the current issue, Garden Grove had an issue last weekend to where we have gotten our old ambulances to make sure they still work and put some grease in the gurneys, just in case we find ourselves in the place of somebody's got to run these calls. We'll figure out the bill, we'll figure out everything else, but we're not there yet. But
Interesting.
in the city, I would watch it.
OC Health Department have their own ambulances,
No,
interfacility transfers
All
between
private.
hospitals?
that's all. Interfacility transports is all private.
Really? Geriatric ambulances,
Private.
all that. So we're also looking at hold times too, releasing those crews and getting them back and all. So
Right.
I've made inquiries on that one too. It's an interesting.
And I know CARE provides them to the city. Is it quarterly also?
Yeah.
I've never seen them, nor are we in the position to where we monitor them, but as you monitor all your public safety, don't forget that
Good
piece
stuff.
of it. I don't think there's any problems, but keep an eye on it.
Right.
So you're monitoring e-bike accidents. Are you monitoring any e-bike non-injury accidents that they wouldn't show up on? So we would have stats on how many problems we've had with e-bikes that are non-injury?
It depends. If it generates a call for service, then it's something that we can try to track down. We don't have, to my knowledge, we don't have any specific category for e-bikes. So like he mentioned, it's a matter of trying to track down all types of accidents and then scanning through the log entry to see, was this e-bike related? In fact, I did this for you guys a couple months ago. It might have been my first meeting with you guys, and we discussed some odd, I want to say it was like around 30 accidents related to e-bikes, and the overwhelming majority of them were the fault of other people, not the e-bike rider. So it's something that is time consuming. It's worth mentioning to our crime analysis people to see if maybe they can include some sort of a tag that will make the
That would
search
be-
easier.
yeah,
Yeah, could that be added to CAD? That seems like that wouldn't be a,
It could be, but it has to be part of the call, or it would have to be, when the person calls it in, they would have to
Right,
mention
right.
e-bike, and a lot of times that doesn't happen.
When the officer gets there.
Or the officer has to update the logging, he would have to specifically put in e-bike, which sometimes they don't. They
Sure.
put bike
You know what I mean?
or
So if there's a tag on there, then he just clicks it, and
Right.
that's better information.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be great if you look into that for us, 'cause I think every city would like to have that.
Now, as far as e-bikes and reporting that types of stuff, CHP could get involved in that, and you wouldn't even know it.
Well, and like he's saying, I can check the CHP 180 box, or to see if they have a box for e-bikes.
Yeah.
So I can do that. You know, we have those upstairs all the time.
That'd be great.
But do we have access to the CHP reports? To the other problem?
CHP as an agency?
Well, I mean, how would I, as a city, be able to query their things to get stats? Do I go through you, or?
Oh, if it was our call, then we would have the record.
Right, but
Yeah.
if it's
We use
CHP,
we use the CHP one. That's the traffic form that they use to do traffic.
Right,
So
I understand.
you can pull that information.
for the CHP report type thing, but I'm looking at CHP responds to.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be like freeways or off ramps or.
Yeah, the off ramps. That's all count.
Yeah, we wouldn't have that. You have to go to the CHP for that.
And how do I get there? You know, I tried that and I got lost in the maze type thing. So I'll have to go bang on the door. with
Establish a contact over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could probably send you someone's name.
Okay.
I don't know. He wouldn't be the right person, but he could direct.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I can drill down on that thing, but I tried before and it just went nowhere. You know how to dial one and dial this. And forget it. Okay. Any other things we can help you with? It should be on our work.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
thanks for the opportunity. That comes to the top of my head at this point.
That's okay. You got my number, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Do you have a homeless problem down there or anything?
No homeless on the beach.
Exactly.
It's way better than it was a couple of years ago. There's been an uptake a bit in the last week or so.
We moved to cemetery.
Wow. Crazy stuff. Okay. Unfinished business at all?
Before we move on, Chair, would you like me to read back just the topics and who's been assigned?
Yeah, I think.
And then and then what I did last year was I sent emails to the non-quorum groups, establishing an email chain for those specific
Okay.
topics. And then I'll just say also, if there's something that comes up between this meeting and the next,
Mm-hmm.
I think for last year there was a safety valve that was kind of put into the motion, that if individuals had other work plan ideas, they could bring those to the meeting to be discussed at that time. So in case there's something that was just missed in this review. So all of the existing work plan projects will be presented at the next meeting. The first is Neighborhood Watch, and that would be Rick and Joe. The second is Communication and Disaster Preparedness. That would be Nick and Charlie.
Right.
The third is Technology, and that would also be Nick and Charlie. The legislative review, I only have Rick on that. The homelessness and BMP, I have Rick and Joe. And statistics and performance measures, and this is the one where Chief Capobianco recommended care ambulance review be included. I have that as Rick and Charlie. And for new items, we have human trafficking, and that's to be decided how it gets inserted. And I only have Rick on that project, and then call it traffic or bicycle safety. And there was a large discussion. This issue was brought up by Charlie, so I'm assuming that he's on it. If there's anybody else on it, feel free to nominate.
Well, I support that it be there in somehow on the work plan.
My plate's full. Putting that on me in addition to these other two jobs would be something I probably couldn't deliver, to be honest with you.
Okay, then I'll do it. I mean,
I can help you, but
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to put together something that looks like a form of a work plan, and then you guys can take a look at it at the next meeting and see what you think, and change it, tweak it, do whatever. I mean, I'll put something together.
Okay.
Adam, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Just a matter of order. Your recap, it was my recommendation to watch Care Ambulance. Yes, that's true, but is that what comes out publicly? The reason I'm asking, us and Care work very well together. We have a professional relationship. I don't know if it would necessarily be a positive thing if
Well, the fact is,
we kind of talked about
The
that when we
answer,
were
the
going.
answer is no,
Okay.
with the exception of this meeting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it if it was public, but I'd rather
Yeah,
try
no,
to
I-
maintain that relationship as well.
I only reiterated that so that it was clear to which item
Got it.
Care Ambulance would apply.
and I think, wasn't the performance measure, wasn't the ambulance service mentioned that last year? Because it seems like that's something that we at least discussed.
It may have been, and we
Yeah.
had
We
members
talked
of
about
the
it because
committee.
it's a budget item.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
What
we're
is this?
already kind of
And so
looking,
we
we're
broke
already
down-
looking at it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the committee members have independently been,
Yeah.
looking into that.
So thanks, you just reminded us that ambulances are part of the thing.
Plus, it's a city definite line item budget. We have to look at.
Okay, so based on that list that I just read off, if somebody like to just make a motion that those are moving forward, there's no real decision being made at this point, other than to break up into non-form groups and bring back specific items for next time. So a motion isn't
Well,
technically necessary, but just
I'll-
for good measure.
I'll move that the committee accept the tentative work plan outline with the caveat that it's going to be brought back to the next meeting for further tweaking.
You do that really good. I'll second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Sure. Come on, here's your opportunity.
This is your first meeting.
All right, committee member Leffler.
Aye.
Committee member Yanis.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hightower and Chair Petito. Pass it forward to this.
We're getting there.
Now we're close.
Any unfinished business we have to attend to? See none? Okay. Police services, we're looking for reports by committee members and staff. We're going to go to Captain Medfield right now. This-
A little bit of new news. The San Clemente car show on Del Mar went off without a hitch. There was almost no activity. There was one missing adult with dementia. He was found by deputies within a few minutes, and then nothing occurred there. It was great. Nice, low-key, peaceful family kind of car enthusiast event. Something I mentioned in one of our other meetings, wildland evacuation maps for the city of San Clemente are done, and they are with the city manager. They'll probably get released soon on the city website. Adam, have you heard anything if that actually went out or not? Because I think there's still some discussion that they may map the remaining zones of the city. The ones that were originally mapped were the ones that are most likely to be impacted by wildland fire. So it's kind of the outer edges of the city. And the city is contemplating mapping all of the zones, and then they could be used for all hazards and not necessarily just fire. So my last understanding was that those were going to get released on the city website last week, but I think if they didn't, it's because they might be examining the possibility of mapping them all, which wouldn't be hard and wouldn't take much time. But so those are done on our end of it, but we might be making some additions to it. And that's it, other than the station opening, and most of you guys were there, so it looks great. It's coming right along. And we're working on a plan to get this back door staffed and some signage to try to redirect people around to the back of the building until it gets out to the public, so that we can take some of the load off the people in the front office there.
You know, I have a question. When we went through the tour up there, it looked to me like all the offices had a phone and an internet or a workstation. Is there any communication equipment, radio communication that you have here? You have antennas on the roof or anything that you could? I didn't see any up there. But
Yeah.
do you have a radio room or what?
We have some equipment up on the roof that handles the download of our audio video from the patrol units as they come in. It automatically downloads. And I don't know where the radio antenna is. I imagine it's on the roof somewhere. I've not been up there myself, but yeah, we do have radios here.
But you can talk to other departments or the emergency operating center and that, not by phone or internet, but
Correct.
by somehow. Okay.
Yeah, Orange County is interesting with its 800 meg system. just everybody's on the same system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great when you do that.
Interoperability you just have with problems with CHP and trains and there's odd stuff, but
Probably all
major.
digital too, yeah.
It's crazy stuff. Chief,
Well, I'm a little unhappy with the new sheriff's substation. I think it's nicer than they deserve. I have to go on record publicly.
Duly noted.
Let's see, our COVID numbers are improving. They're starting to go down. Probably about half of what they were a week ago, so that's good news. Nobody with significant illness. We had a couple guys in the hospital a couple weeks ago, but everybody's out.
Good.
Our fire weather continues to be a good thing down here as we look outside, which has allowed us to continue to support the fires up north. The strike team that we had has come back. We're looking at maybe tomorrow or the next day setting another strike team up north to continue to help them as long as our weather is low activity down here. And then the only other thing of kind of exciting news that I think would benefit San Clemente, next month or the month after at our board meeting, we should see a staff report on requesting the ability to go start looking at financing for a couple of new helicopters. Most of the counties up and down Southern California have gone to Firehawks. Our two Hueys have been put out of service because we can't find the rattling and the shaking and the, so we're down to two. For the most part, we have 2 helicopters on a day. It takes about 4 helicopters to staff 2 a day with the maintenance and everything else going on. So we're looking, hopefully we'll get some support in the next month or 2 to look at purchasing a couple of those. So that's kind of exciting news and definitely a positive thing for San Clemente down here. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
just a point of information, 60 Minutes on Sunday. Did you happen to see that?
I haven't seen
my
the
gosh.
whole thing, but definitely interesting.
Did his boss, Chief Hennessy, is just spotlighted in this national 60 Minutes thing and talking about the big helicopter and how it's deployed and not deployed and the bureaucracies involved. So I recommend seeing it. It's quite interesting. So, and it's on YouTube, so you can pick it up there.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue that they're working through. Fire department doesn't do well with change, right? We hate it the way it is, and the only thing we hate more than that is changing it. So bringing in private large aircraft like that, and it's definitely rustled some feathers at CAL FIRE and the federal level. But the resource itself is pretty incredible. When you look at Ventura, LA, and us having those large CH-47s and the Colson airships, but bringing in the private contractors, and it's ruffled some feathers, let's say that.
Yeah, and doing night drops.
Well, they do something that nobody else can.
Yeah.
Dropping at night, dropping retardant at night.
That's right.
And it's 3,000 gallons a drop versus our helicopters is 300.
Kicking and screaming into the future, right?
A little bit,
Just
yeah.
a little bit. So you want to see bureaucracy in action, try that one. That's really interesting.
So do they fly with night vision goggles? Is that what they're just
They do, and our helicopter does it well. The biggest thing they do is they can drop retardant at night.
Okay, as opposed to just
So
water.
if you look at the fire activity and the weather at night versus day, you can make a lot of progress.
Yeah.
But retardant, fixed-wing aircraft are the only ones that drop retardant, and they're grounded at night.
Right.
So to have the ability to continue some of those retardant lines and make some progress at night when the winds are low is something that fire service hasn't seen before. So they literally have a mobile retardant base that can go get set up wherever the fire is. And so they're funded by Edison.
I bet.
And SDG&E actually has one. So first of all, so the Colson ship would end up, I know you're not Edison customers down here. What Edison does is they pay for the standby time and the helicopters. As soon as they launch, it's $8,000 an hour. Small price to pay for the work that they can do. So in San Clemente, even though you're not an Edison customer, you will have those ships responding down here. That $8,000 an hour is covered by your contract with OCFA, so you won't be getting a bill for that. The other resource is SDG&E also has a big sky crane. They're about 45, they're almost at the border. But SDG&E has something similar. Not quite as progressive as the Colson ships and what Edison is doing up here. So as an example of how they're also used, they were actually sent because our weather was like this. All 3 ships and the mobile retardant base was sent to Northern California as they were losing complete towns up there. Those are not Edison customers. But the Forest Service was paying the $8,000 an hour. So Edison pays for the crew to stand by, but then as soon as they left, there's a price tag to it.
The support that you're giving them up there, I assume you're setting up some equipment besides personnel. Is any of that equipment coming out of San Clemente fire stations?
For the strike team?
Yeah.
I don't think it has, but it can. So what we do is we have a rotational basis with those specialty resources. So if it's a Type 1 engine, the ones that we send out of county typically have 2 engines. San Clemente doesn't have that. They'll have 2 Type 1 engines. The front one goes out, we bring in a crew and staff the backup one. The Type 3 engines, brush engines, you do have one in San Clemente. And depending on the rotational basis, there are times when that engine could be the one sent out of county. That Type 3 engine is cross-staffed. So as soon as the crew goes onto that, it leaves the Type 1 engine unstaffed, and we call back crews to staff that back up for response here. And then, so depending on where it is in the rotation, but I don't believe, I can't remember if 350 went up north. No, the Type 3s have not gone. It was Type 1 strike team that went up.
Do you house any OES rigs?
We have a strike team of Type 6s. They're brand new. We actually haven't sent them out yet.
Oh, really?
That's what might be going out tomorrow or the next day. There's been some recall issues with them, so we actually haven't sent them out. But the state bought 75 of them. We have 5 as a strike team.
Oh, you do?
But we don't have any Type 1 or Type 3 OES rigs. Orange County is an operational area, so some of the city fire departments have a Type 3 strike team. Actually, there's 2 of them. But the benefit to OES is that you get you get the engine, right? The drawback is anytime they call, you go.
Right.
So we could have fire weather here, and they say, hey, we need a strike team, and you're kind of on the hook. There are ways, if you're having staffing issues, or if we have an in-county emergency, we can not fill the order, but you're kind of on the hook when they call, versus when it's our own. So we have 16 Type 3s. We have enough of them, and we send them when we want. We're not obligated, so it's kind of nice. Those Type 6s, we're a little bit obligated, so we're testing it out.
How's your new truck holding up?
Great. We just went out to bid for 3 more, and I'm hoping they're the same. And we'll make some tweaks to it. One thing we've learned with the ladder truck is that everything is give and take. So we tried to get it a little bit more narrow so that it can get through your streets down here. But with that comes a little smaller power plant. So therefore, when you get the hills, it's a little slower up the hills. So it's everything you have. I don't think the perfect truck exists. You want more compartment space, but then it's heavier, and you can't. You're overweight for CHP. So you have to find that balance. But long story short, we're ordering 3 more. Hopefully, it comes back with the same manufacturer. We may change the power plant a little bit, but the truck's been great.
Good.
It's been great.
Hello.
Oh, Mr. Cheese.
Yeah, so since our last meeting, we've had 101 rescues, just over 1,400 prevents. We went through Labor Day weekend, which finished our summer season. So typically during the weekday, we'd have 30 lifeguards working. We're down to 4.5 during weekdays. Weekends, we have 26. We're down to 15. So this weekend and the next couple of weekends, you'll see 8 towers open on the north side and 4 on the south side of the pier. And then slowly that'll dwindle as the weather changes here. I think Mr. Hightower asked if we had some problems with homeless. funny you say that. Just before I came here, a homeless guy decided to urinate right out in front of my office, and was drinking beer, so called the deputies down to assist us in writing a citation with that. There's not much we can do as far as if they're not breaking community code or breaking a law as far as encampments. But what we do is report those and send them off to code enforcement and park rangers, and they go visit in the evening and see if they can make contact with them, and also include Carly, I think it is.
Carly Hunter, yeah.
Carly in those emails. We had 2 Als calls, one this past Sunday. Another one was for allergic reaction. On Monday of Labor Day, we had a panga that was up on the riprap north of Mariposa, and that's been kind of a common theme that's been happening up and down the Orange County coastline. We had 2 yesterday, one in Laguna and one in Newport. I'm going to attend it's called the Orange County what is it called? The Orange County Intelligence Assessment Center, and it's going to be at Hall of Maritime, and kind of talk about the influx of human smuggling that are coming in. A lot of times, so this one got called in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Someone above the bluff on Buena Vista called 911, and then Harbor Patrol was dispatched. They sent land units, and by the time the land units got there, there's just life jackets and the boat up on the rock. So Harbor Patrol was canceled en route since it was done, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think Tow USA got the boat off, and it was taken over by Border Patrol. So, but outside of that, moving into the slower part of the season and with less staffing, so it still keeps us busy.
So when these pangas crash and people are thrown out, do you go and rescue them and then?
Well, that was my concern, because I never got a call for emergency call out, and they said once the land unit got there and the life jackets are on the land and there's gas cans, there's no threat of someone in the water. Now, if there's a threat of someone in the water, then they would call the resources to go.
Now, your junior lifeguard program was discontinued last year.
Yeah, so we didn't run it in 2020 because of COVID, and this year we ran it. We had almost 800 kids that ran it.
What's normal?
We have capacity for 840.
Boy, maxed out.
Yeah.
Is that 3 sessions a day?
We have 3 sessions. Each session is Monday through Friday. They're 3 weeks long, and you can do a morning session 9 to 12, or you can do 1 to 4.
Good job there. Absolutely.
Got 3 of my grandkids.
Yeah.
Great grandkids?
Yeah.
2 of my kids went there too. Not grandkids.
I'd like to pass this out, just as a recap of the presentations that I have scheduled and we've enjoyed
Thank you, sir.
over the last year. This just gives you an idea of how active our meetings can be, getting these presentations. They also will be, the ones that we've had with Zoom, they're on the library, basically make a library of these presentations for the citizens and for ourselves that we can refer back to. Neighborhood Watch can use those as if you want to know anything about like alert OC or what's going on type thing. So this gives you an idea, and I just kind of put it together to get an idea of what have we been doing, and rather than guessing, I actually went through it and formulated the thing. So it gives you an idea. Thank you very much for your support.
How do you get these, Nick? Where are they located?
You go online
YouTube?
and you look up our particular the Public Safety Committee's meeting, and on that date, and we generally had them the first item.
You can do a YouTube search, City of San Clemente, and I'll say Public Safety Committee, and it'll list all of them there.
It's got the, apparently that was the presentation.
Basketball was first.
Yeah, so,
I asked him if he was going to make a presentation today, and he said, oh, I already did that. Okay.
yeah, so you can
Good man.
move back, it's the same stuff, you know?
I didn't think to refer back to it. Perfect.
There you go. Fit right in there. Let's see. I think we got a lot going on. Thank you for indulging in this first meeting face-to-face. We have never had a face-to-face meeting of this committee. It's wonderful.
It seemed like a good idea until it came time to get up and come here.
Versus Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, well,
You got the, I don't know why you guys wanted to have these meetings in public, to tell you the truth.
Jeez.
I had to dress up.
More to come. Anyway, thank you very much for everything you guys are doing. It really makes
Thank you for your support.
our job real interesting. Okay, committee members, let's go for the vice chair. Do you have anything to?
there's a 30-second limit on this.
Yeah.
You should talk.
I'll be 30 seconds.
I really, again, I appreciate you gentlemen being here. And, as a citizen of the same committee, and support everything you do. We really appreciate it.
Good job.
No,
That it? Okay, I talked a little bit about Neighborhood Watch before. I think Lisa's coming back next week. Crime prevention.
I think the 8th is her first day.
Oh, not till the 8th, okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we need to get together with Lisa and OCSD so we could decide what roles we're each going to play, and so we don't miss something or we don't duplicate efforts. And she's been gone for what, 3 months now, or
Yeah, she's been on family leave. She had a baby.
quite a while. And I know I'm trying to get some stats on for our Neighborhood Watch meeting coming up October 17th. And I guess she have a lot to do when she gets back on the 8th, so I'm not sure she'll get to it for me. But, so we've got, that's real important that we meet with her and find out, what our game plan. And the person that's going to do the video with us too, we might try and see if maybe she could be there too with our meeting. Yeah, so anyhow, so that's, the organizational part of it's done, but now the implementation and the routine of having a meeting, how do you schedule it, who does what and stuff, that's going to have to all be worked out. So that's where we're coming for next year. So anyhow, that's all I got.
Great. Rick?
And yeah, I'm so happy you guys all came. It really makes a big difference, and I wasn't expected as busy as you are, but I'm really glad you came. And the one thing that was kind of interesting, I wasn't able to go to the last city council meeting. I usually go to them, but I turned it on the TV because I wanted to listen to it. I left the room and my wife starts saying, "Hey, did you hear about the 4 or 5 really good-looking young lifeguards that jumped off the pier and saved all the surfer girls?" And I said, "No, I saw that episode of Baywatch." I said, "No." She says, "No, this actually happened in our city." And I do want to say congratulations. I mean, that was a really, really great effort by you guys, and a really good optics of showing how dedicated. I mean, I don't know why these guys are hanging around the beach as much as they are, but I'm glad that they are. So anyway, that's some really good dedication. It was really, really nice to hear. So anyway, that's
Good job. Mr. Staff Member?
Let's see, the items to report are, this, as mentioned, this is an in-person meeting. This is also the first meeting in the city that has gone back to being in person.
another win.
Well, we're the best.
This is the most forward-thinking place. in
Sure,
the city.
forward thinking.
thank you for that.
We've got other meetings that are going to be moved to in-person. And all of this is starting based on a few things. You'll notice that some meetings are still via Zoom, and it generally relates to the number of people that attend those meetings and the availability of the location where they are. For example, the Planning Commission can really only meet in the exact same venue as the City Council based on the community center's availability and the fact that auditorium gets set up for each council meeting. or they still have other things going on, the timing of that meeting just happens to work. So the push is for all those meetings, all of our meetings to get back into in-person. And in so doing, we're transitioning back into how our information or record of the meetings are reported. For right now, the recordings are going to be put into a YouTube video with just a picture of the city seal on it, but put into our YouTube library. I don't know if this is the long-term plan prior to COVID. For a meeting like this, the only thing that would be published on the city's website would be the minutes of that meeting. So I can't promise how long this is going to be in effect, but for the time being, this is what you can tell people we are doing.
Was there ever thought of kind of a meeting when you could be here or you could be virtual also? Like if one of the chiefs can't make it, that they could be online?
Yeah,
Is that possible? Or?
well, you're essentially describing the city council meetings and how they work now. I will say no, that has not been contemplated, at least to my level. There may be discussions of how it's possible with the city clerk's office and IT, beginning those discussions, but I haven't heard anything. If I do, I'll report it.
So it might be a while before these meetings are like live again for viewing by the public?
Like I said, these meetings were never, this type of meeting was never live.
Oh, in the past?
Prior.
Oh,
Yeah. Even public hearings were not always live.
Planning commission was, right? Like-
Planning commission was, but the zoning administrator that takes care of things like minor conditional use permits.
We're
rather
planning
than-
on going back to,
Yeah, we were trying to get their meeting for the August.
does that have to be
October
the community
6th.
center? That's where they do them all now?
That's where it will be done, but on October 6th, it was reserved for that
And
time.
the council meetings will continue to be at the community center?
Yes, for the
So
time
that's
being.
setting it up every meeting?
Yes. Yeah,
That's some more?
yeah. Now, we do have new council chambers that are going to be built in City Hall.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, there's a portion of the second floor that the Orange County Sheriff's Department is not utilizing as part of their new substation. So that,
$1.5 million,
So that's a year out from now.
it's gonna be a while out,
Okay.
for sure. But it will be here, and when that occurs, when that occurs, to the extent practical, I would assume most, if not all, public meetings are
Would be
there.
And that'll be good because when we bring in our presentations from other folks, it'll be videoed and you can
Right.
actually see this stuff and use it for those neighborhood watch programs.
That's true.
Yeah. And then just finally, and I'm glad Chairman Cuda provided this. So two things somewhat related to this. The first is the annual work plan. When it does get presented to the council, it will include a staff report or an agenda report for council. That agenda report it's typically drafted by staff and then provided to the chair for any modifications. In it this year, it would be nice to have basically an annual report of what the committee did over the last year. So if the committee members could just think about, all the details and accomplishments over the last year, we can start putting that together for the city council meeting. And then the other item is the presentations. I recommend that the committee review the presentations that have occurred and look at the future and decide what type of presentations are most beneficial. The first ones we started with were from our public safety and staff representatives. Last year, how often members of this committee, the non-voting members or myself of this committee, should be reporting to the committee is probably a good question to ask ourselves. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Anything else for the good of the cause yet? Seeing not, I move that we go to our next regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee be held at 3:00 p.m. on Tuesday, October 26th, 2021, in City Hall, first floor, community room located at 910 Calais, Negocio, San Clemente, California.
Second.
Okay, Committee Member Laughlin.
Aye.
Member Janice. Vice Chair Hightower. And Chair Rapido.
Absolutely.
Aye.
Good.